My name is Wagner Moraes, and I'm director of a company called BGD Consulting Group, an innovation and funding advisory company established in Brussels, in Belgium. And we work essentially with deep tech companies and with strong focus on topics that are very high in the European agenda. So with this context, the Portuguese Innovation Agency was kind enough to invite me for moderating this session, and I'm very pleased to do so. So I think that we have quite a packed agenda for today. So I will try to be as efficient as possible, also because I'm aware that I'm standing between you and lunch. So let's try to be as efficient as you can. So we have planned a session of around 1 hour with 5-10 minutes for a quick introduction of the whole project. Then we will move into panel presentations. So we have a fantastic lineup of speakers. We have 5 speakers, and then we will move into a panel discussion. It's supposed to be around 10 minutes, where we will open up for Q&A. If you have any questions as a participants, please feel free to share them through the chat. So we welcome great questions, and then we will try to pick up the most relevant ones and to cover as many as possible. If you don't have questions, I will try to do it from my side as well. And then at the end, we will have closing remarks, 5 minutes. That's pretty much what we have for the agenda. I mean, people say that, to have a great discussion, you need to have 2 things. You need to have a great topic, and you need to have great people. I think I'm happy to say that I think that we have both. I mean, we will be discussing, you can see here in the slides, to increase and improve funding mechanisms to support startups and SMEs developing new business models and value chains, especially in the phases of proof of concept and upscaling. We'll be focusing on 2 main value chains: marine bioresources, including fisheries and aquaculture. And the second one is renewable and marine energy in maritime decarbonisation activities. So I guess that many of you at this stage are already quite familiar with I3-4-Blue growth, but maybe I would even go a little bit step back to just to give you overall context of the whole framework where this project is being funded. So as you might know, I3-4-Blue growth is a project that is funded by the European Commission in the context of a program called Interregional Innovation Investments. So I'm not going to bother you too much with details about what the program is about, but I would like that you keep in mind that you retain 3 main ideas that, in my view, capture in the essence what is the program about. First thing is this is a program that is focused on collaborative projects around interregional cooperation. So it's about supporting regions to become more competitive by establishing and developing new value chains. We are not talking about any value chain. We are talking about value chains that are strategic for the region. So there's a clear, typically these projects, they need to have a clear alignment with the smart specialization strategies of the region. And on top of that, this needs to be value chain strategic for Europe. The pillar number 2 of the I3 program is essentially about establishing a portfolio of investment cases. So the idea of bringing SMEs working together, that they are facing issues in terms of upscaling. We are targeting companies that are at TRL 6, and at the end of the program, they should be at TRL 9, ideally. So all support should be given to these companies to help them to move from TRL 6 to TRL 9. The third pillar of the program is essentially about bringing quadruple helix stakeholders working together. It's about bringing SMEs, academia, but also regional and national policymakers working together to create all the conditions and the necessary framework so that these investment cases can eventually be successful. So the I3-4-Blue growth, it's an initiative that is about capacity building. So it's about supporting the regions to have collaboration around this value chain of blue growth. And we have selected two core value chains that, in my view, capture very much the essence of the blue economy. On one end, fisheries and aquaculture, big topic these days. The food security is a big issue in Europe. And the value chain number two, which is the whole question around maritime decarbonisation, renewable. So there's a lot that can be done in this area. So at the end of the day, what we are expecting in this project is that the regions are better equipped, and that the SMEs can eventually apply and build portfolio of investment cases that they can be positioned in potentially new calls coming up in the next years. So without further ado, I would like now to move to the next phase, which is giving the floor to our brilliant speakers. So we have here an interesting setup of speakers. They come from different angles with different backgrounds and different perspectives. You will see that we will have representatives at European level. Klaus Schulz, the policy coordinator for Blue Economy, Innovation and Investments at the European Commission. He works at the DG Mare. And then we have representatives at the national level. We have people from the entrepreneurship side. We have a speaker from a clusters side. And we have then a consultant expert that is working very much on these kind of topics for a long time. So I think that I would give the floor to Klaus Schulz. The question, I think that's going to be the same to all of you. Please give us a quick overview about the topic. It's an open presentation, 5 to 7 minutes. It would be great just to have your flavor. How do you see the topic and the kind of priorities in the blue economy region, and how actually regions can cooperate around this topic? So, Klaus, over to you.
Thank you, Wagner. Can you see my shares?
Yes.
The slide share. Yes, very good. So yeah, thanks for having me. And obviously at DG Mare, we are very interested indeed and supportive towards these smart specialization partnerships in various blue economy areas. We do believe that they have the potential to contribute to a strengthening of the regional ecosystems and to boosting innovation and entrepreneurship, and hopefully also investment, which is very important to mobilize public and private investment for these for the ecosystem, but also for the concrete innovations, development, startups, scale-ups, and other companies on the ground. And we're very keen to see evidence that this thesis works. I've been personally involved in setting this up from 2010 to 2016. I was part of the team that launched smart specialization as a concept and put it into the structural funds. But today I'm here to present an initiative that I've started when I changed to DG Mare in 2016, and we were looking at the innovation landscape in the blue economy, and we realized that there's something amiss, and that we need to do something about this. So this is only 6 years old, but it's really now also already one of the key delivery mechanisms for innovation support for the blue economy in Europe. And I'm happy to present this. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'll run you really quickly through these slides. And please stop me when we are over time, because you can look at these slides later. I would also have a video, but I don't think there's time for this. But you have the link in the slides, which we can share later. I want to start just as an inspiration. I know that we have Blue Invest is a support mechanism, and I will explain it on my next slides. but I want to start with kind of inspiring success stories of, companies that and innovations that have, made it to the market and that, are thriving thanks to the support, in part, of course, that we have provided. And one is actually today on your panel, Scientia. So Joao will present that. Scientia was a Blue Invest beneficiary right early on, one of the first companies we took on board. It was a finalist of our Blue Invest Awards, and it did raise and more recently very considerable funding. So congratulations, Joao, to this coup, raising the funding for making your vision a reality and scaling up your technology. But another one that I'd like to highlight is we're seeing a lot of development now in this area that is also really relevant for European security and defense, with dual use aspects, underwater communication. This is a classical spin-off story. This is from the university, from an Italian university. I think it was in Rome, a university in Rome. They received early support from Blue Invest through a maritime fund grant, so we were able to give them support early on. They also received, Horizon money, and they subsequently became a Blue Invest beneficiary and also went to the EIC. Now this company has been, has been very successful in scaling up their business. We introduced them to the European Investment Bank. They are now part of one of the blue champions that's gonna be that's gonna be in line for some EIB support. So this is one of the stories where you can see how from a small idea, from an innovation, from research results at the university, we can go to possibly, a unicorn, which is possibly not very far away for, this company here. So this is the idea of Blue Invest. We want to nurture the ecosystem. We want to provide that support so that European startup companies in the different subsectors of the blue economy can thrive, can pass through the valley of death, can access the support and the finance they need, and can create jobs here, and don't have to go to where the capital is, maybe the private capital in particular is sometimes easier available than in Europe. We basically, 6 years ago, we without having access to the brilliant Draghi report, we already did. We already took that recipe and created a platform. So basically, it's all about building this community between companies, investors, and innovation stakeholders, accelerators. Cooperating closely. We're offering 2 levels of support to companies. One is investment readiness support. The other is fundraising support. I'll explain what that is later. We make the case for these companies vis-a-vis the investors by having an accessible project pipeline with data, and we match with the data that investors need to decide whether this could be of interest for them to invest. We have a project pipeline here. This is very important, of course. So all the companies that apply to our program get a needs assessment, and they have a very good chance of being run through our program, which is operated through a contract we have with PricewaterhouseCoopers and a fantastic expert network across Europe to help companies strengthen their business ideas and to strengthen their investment readiness. And then we'll match them. We have a lot of events where companies pitch and investors present what they're looking for, and we connect the 2 worlds. That's been, as you see, these are the areas we are 8 sectors in the blue economy we are active in. let me run quickly through the services here. So we have, as I said, we have this pipeline. I'm come to the numbers. I come in a minute. So basically, we make sure that we can have that deal flow that the investors need. And of course, we are also strengthening the venture capital ecosystem. I come to that a little bit later because we have a financial instrument to build out that ecosystem. So we are not operating through grants anymore. We did this at the beginning. We are now fully into financial instruments, de-risking and, building that venture capital, private equity ecosystem that's so important to nurture innovation, because you can't do that with EU funds. You can de-risk with EU funds, but there's not enough money to go around. We have to build that in Europe ourselves to be able to compete with, the US, Singapore, China, other countries where you have a very strong venture capital ecosystem and private investors eager to take on risk and to support these young companies. So we have a second level of readiness assistance, that's fundraising assistance, that is a very close hand-holding for those companies who have most of the potential to go to market and to really get them into to make sure that they get a deal with an investor. So that's the ambition here, right? We have so these are some numbers just to show you where we got into in these 6 years. So our community is more than 2,000 active members. You see the numbers of business-to-business meetings, events organized, very high satisfaction rates of our clients. We're very client-oriented, very responsive. This is not your typical public initiative, right? We provided technical assistance to more than 300 companies. Of those, more than 70 secured investments in the area of 320 plus million private investment, right? We have this expert certified expert coaches. We monitor that network. We monitor the success rate of the coaches. We have some star coaches who really got the companies up and going, and so this is all very much based on on KPIs and on monitoring and fine tuning the program so we can deliver the success that we need. We have a strong project pipeline that makes the case for investment, not only to EU investors but also to investors outside Europe who are interested in supporting EU companies. We work with 320 plus investors in the blue economy, mainly venture capital funds, because this is where we lay our focus in this first, in this first stage of Blue Invest. We may now, since we have already build this ecosystem out, and also through a financial instrument under InvestEU, we have managed to bring this ecosystem from when we started there were 1 or 2 venture capital funds, and now we have more than 30 venture capital funds focusing on the blue economy in Europe, with a tendency of this growing. So there's a lot of interest in this space because we show where the opportunities are, and we help to de-risk through the small amount of money. It's not a lot of money that we're providing, but through InvestEU, which is a big instrument, we were able to give a boost here. And of course, there's also a general strengthening of awareness on the blue economy, which helps those funds to find investment. Because if you want to build a blue economy fund, you have to have the knowledge where the investment opportunities. You have the expertise to be able to see whether a company has potential for your you do your due diligence as a fund. Banks don't really do this. They don't take the risk. Venture capital funds do. A lot of venture capital funds in the kind of classical economy don't have the eye for the blue. We are helping them here. We have a capacity building track for investors something that we work together with the EIB group, and it's been very successful. We have trained a lot of investors. You can see here the numbers. And all in all, through all these different mechanisms, we have mobilized within the past 6 years. We have raised about 1 billion funds, to be invested. Some of the money has already been invested. Yesterday I had a call with the EIB. We have around 660 million still dry powder in the funds that's going to be invested now, because it takes a bit of time. If we get a fund if the EIF takes on a fund and does an anchor investment, they go around, because that's a label of quality, they go around, they get an investment from other funds, then they close their fund at a certain, 100 million, and then they're going to start investing. So we're now at the phase where these funds that we have supported, the 10 funds we supported via the financial instruments, are investing in blue economies across Europe, and they look at our pipeline and they look at other opportunities. So this is how that mechanism works. These are just some of the funds that we are working with that are really active participants in our network, that come to our events, that meet our companies. If you've ever been to a Blue Invest day event or some of the thematic workshops we organize, you know how dynamic that is, and it is really geared towards enabling that business success and these contacts so that the investment deals can be done. We also provide to the investors data that they need. So we have something. Please look at this investor report. It's very interesting also for companies. It maps the investment landscapes. What we're going to do, and highlights innovation trends, breakthrough technologies, gives example from our pipeline. What we're going to do in the future, our investors need more data on return on investments. This also will help to attract bigger funds into that space. So this is something we're going to do for our next investor report 2026, or also then further on 27, because we've got to continue with Blue Invest. That's the plan for at least until 2028, if not 2030. Learnings from successful business cases. So far we are publishing success stories. We want to do more deep dives so that you can really learn on some of the key success factors that enable the company to be successful, and on their, what was their strategy? How did they position themselves? How did they develop their relationship with investors? What are good practices here? So that's what we're doing. Please lead to investor report. There's some really important, interesting data on how this space develops. How the surge of investment going towards the blue economy, and which areas are most interesting for the investors, which can also help you with your smart specialization strategies. There's a second report I'd like to call your attention to. We just published that this month, actually, yes, at the Blue Invest Day. This was done in cooperation with the EIB. It's the Blue Champions report. I was told to say, let's look at a couple of lessons learned. If I have one more minute, I'll share these lessons learned from like six years of Blue Invest. First lesson is, and this is where you come in, innovation ecosystems matter. Our success stories, company success stories, are naturally dominated by several member states with strong blue economy innovation ecosystems. Denmark, Germany, Spain, Finland, France, Ireland, Italy, Portugal, Sweden, and so on. So there seems to be a clear correlation between the existence of strong marine knowledge and research ecosystems and blue economy technology entrepreneurship. If we want a stronger geographical balance here, we'll have to have additional efforts to strengthen innovation systems in some ecosystem geographies from the ground up. This is where, the structural funds come in. This is where the future water kick will come in. This is where the smart specialization partnerships come in. Also, user experience matters. Our involvement is based on two strong pillars. One is a one-stop shop platform, an online platform, which is not the typical EU website. It's really once you are a member of the community, you have access to that site, and you can do tons of things there with a couple of clicks. It's an integrated service offer. You can online apply for the advisory service. You can register for our events. It facilitates the matchmaking interaction. You can make, contacts with, investors and investors with companies. We get high ratings for this, and we're continually fine-tuning that online offer. But of course, another lesson learned, that our events really matter as well. We do a lot of hybrid and online events. We have about around 15 events per year, 10 to 15. A lot of them are online, but we have at least, 7 physical events where, we bring parts of the community together, And we do see a clear surge in interactions before and after each of these matchmaking events. And then one of the last lessons we learned is that the network is, of course, more than the sum of its parts. A lot of this success can be attributed to the close interaction with blue economy incubators, accelerators, and similar organizations that we draw into our network. So we provide this kind of plug-in platform for these organizations through our market pathway services. So we do understand the value of partnerships also with larger companies, which we're trying to facilitate too, to help validate technologies, encourage take-up, and for them to act as co-investors, right? Of course, it's not only about startups. We need to prioritize the scaling up of existing technologies also. And that's really to focus on the financing needs of scale-ups, because there's a particular gap in Europe for scale-ups in terms of financing. You find this all in this report. Really interesting learning. I'm not going to show you the video unless I get a bit of, I think I'm way over time.
Absolutely, Klaus. I think that
I
you
share
said
the
it a
slides
lot.
with you. There's a lot more information for you.
You said a lot, Klaus, but I didn't want to interrupt you because what you are saying is super interesting, and I think that is of interest to everybody. So definitely congratulations for the work that is being done. There's a lot there. There's a lot of resources, and I think that the whole community should be aware of what's happening and make use of all those resources. So it seems that there was never better times to be an entrepreneur in the blue economy. So thank you for that work. So now I would move to the next speaker, Marisa Lameiras da Silva. We are pleased to have you in the discussion. She's the Director General for the Portuguese Maritime Policy, and it would be great to have your insights on these topics and understand a little bit more what Portugal is doing in this specific topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning to everyone. So we have been asked to present the Blue Grow program of the EE grants. So I would like to start by thank you for this invitation and also for the opportunity to present the contribution of this program to the blue economy. So Directorate General for Maritime Policy is the program operator of the Blue Grow program, funded through the EE grants by Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein, donor states that have contributed to Portugal economic and social development. This program, the Blue Grow program, is one of 5 programs approved for Portugal within the scope of the EE grants financial mechanism, through which Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein financially support the member states of the European Union, and with its main objective being to increase the value creation and sustainable growth of the Portuguese blue economy. The main objective of the Blue Grow program is to increase value creation and sustainable growth within the Portuguese blue economy. This mechanism that is currently in the closing phase had a total budget of 45.9 million euros. And its aim to foster value creation and sustainable growth, including long-term economic development in marine and maritime sectors, social cohesion at the level of local communities and maritime activities, and the protection of marine environment also. It seeks to strengthen research as well as promote education and training in marine and maritime fields. The program contributes to the overall objectives of the grants by financing initiatives that increase the competitiveness and profitability of the Portuguese small and medium enterprises, and by promoting innovation in their products, service, and process. It also supports the reduction of economic and social disparities by funding diverse projects across the following 3 programs areas. The first area, business development, innovation, and small and medium enterprises. Second pillar, research. And third, related with education, scholarship, and young entrepreneurships. So the idea of these three pillars, the idea behind these three pillars is that the synergies between business, research, and education has a holistic approach and contribute to the sustainable blue growth in Portugal. The research components support companies in their development and innovation capacity, as well as increasing their market competitiveness. And for other point of view, the education component promote the enhance of human resources skills and awareness of marine and maritime issues. Lastly, the program also strengthened cooperation between donors and beneficiaries countries through joint projects and partnership. This program supports projects from the north to the south of Portugal, including islands of Açores and Madeira. So I have some numbers to highlight the importance of this program. We launched 10 calls for proposals with 254 applications received. The requested funding was 350% higher than the available budget. 118 projects were approved and received a total of 42 million euros in grants, representing 99% allocation rate. And among these, 67 projects had partners from donor countries. Of these 118 projects approved, 109 were completed, 1 was considered partial completed, 7 unfortunately were terminated, and 1 never signed the contracts. Even so, for us, the program achieved a financial execution rate of 86% and an average physical implementation rate of 93%. So it was a very successful program. It is important to highlight the impact of the Blue Grow program on the partnerships it created. The collaboration between companies, universities, institutions, startups, and with the donors countries such as Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein have strengthened technical capacities, fostered knowledge sharing, and paved the way for the projects with high economic potential. This journey was also brought value lessons. The program evaluation identified the needs to reinforce integration with other programs, particularly with the environmental program, to invest more in communication to available support, simplify procedures, and strengthen monitoring mechanisms to ensure continuous and effective evaluation of results. Let me reinforce that the Blue Grow program is more than a collection of funded projects. For us and for the project and for the community, the Blue Economy community is a legacy of cooperation, innovation, and a commitment to the sustainable future of our ocean. We currently are now currently negotiating the next cycle of the mechanism, and we already know that due to the success of this current Blue Grow program, the next program dedicated to the blue economy will continue, and we expect to expand further. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I will have to leave and I will not be able to stay until the end of the session, but I have people from Directorate General Maritime Policy here in this session. And thank you so much again for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Marisa, and thank you very much also for all the great news that there will be a continuation of this Blue Growth program. So again, good news for all the entrepreneurs in the room. Marisa, so thanks again for your time, and we look forward to know a little bit more what's happening in the blue economy in Portugal. Thanks a lot. So now I will pass to our third speaker. Now we would like to bring a different perspective. So far we have had the perspective of two policymakers. So now we would move to the perspective of a founding partner and manager of a company, in the blue economy sector, called Scientia, and also the perspective of the president of the Blue Bio Alliance, João Rito. João Rito, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Wagner. Well, excellent presentations from Klaus and Marisa. Definitely a great help from both of these programs. Well, I cannot complain, but since Scientia was helped by both of them, and definitely they play a very important role to support all the startups and different SMEs in this sector. Well, I can speak for a lot of time regarding these funding problems and the funding opportunities. Let's call it opportunities to increase the funding on the blue economy sector. I have more experience on the blue bioeconomy, not only through Scientia, but also because of the role that I have in Blue Bio Alliance. Definitely, well, Scientia is 7 years old up to now. There are very big problems still to be solved in the sector, very big problems. It's still a very small slice of the blue economy regarding the whole economy in Europe, in general, in Europe. So the potential to increase the outcome of this economical activity is absolutely huge. A lot of reports from a lot of other companies are mentioning that. What needs to be done? Well, we have to also understand that the blue economy is a long-term process for its development, okay? So we cannot expect results from one day to another or 1 year to another. It doesn't happen that way. So a path is being well implemented, I admit it, but I believe that much better things can be implemented and can be done. On the investment side, I think it's probably the one that evolved the most from the last 5 years. On the, or better, let's call it on the funding side, not investment. On the funding side, I think it evolved a lot. But unfortunately, I think that the, how do I call it? The regulation framework of the European Union, and specifically each one of the countries included in it, do not follow the evolution of the funding perspectives to this sector at the same pace, at least. I see a lot of projects that are not able to proceed as fast as they could because of bottlenecks on the regulation part. Not because of funding, but because of the regulation. So this is my point of view, obviously. Also, I want to highlight that there's a huge, well, this is very well identified for a lot of people. I believe that Manuel Nina has a lot of a very good overview of this as well, of the funding moments that are lacking, and actually GoParity is playing a very good role on this point that I'm going to mention right now, which is there's a gap of funding in for the TRLs that are between the very low TRL in the lab scale and a much bigger TRL in the commercial scale. I call it the pre-commercial or the pilot phase. These TRLs in between are not well funded. There's a lack of not only funding, but also infrastructure or on where the companies can actually implement their projects. Test beds, call it whatever you want. It definitely increased and improved in the last years, but still a lot of way to go. For example, I'm going to mention this because, well, firstly because I'm very familiar with the sector, which is the aquaculture. Well, a lot of you might not know, but Scientia is operating in the aquaculture sector and implementing RAS technology to produce high quality fish. We operate inland with marine aquaculture. So we use marine water. We actually need mandatorily marine water. We treat it, we take care of it, obviously, true, but we need to be close to the sea, close to the ocean. A lot of the blue economy is developed or in the ocean or close to the ocean. So this is a major problem that nobody is tackling it. I know that we're talking about funding in this session, but I believe that one thing is associated with this one as well, which is where can I actually implement my project if there's no space already accepted for the development of the blue economy in the coastal areas. Just as there are business parks all over the countries, all over Europe, inland. So usually these business centers are actually delocated from the city centers, which makes all the sense. But in the blue economy, the business centers have to be located in the shores, in the coastal line, because we need access to the ocean. They are not there yet. So what is the alternative? The alternative is that people are looking for the ports, which might be a great opportunity, but in Portugal, at least in Portugal, where I know ports are actually running out of space. Mm-hmm. Ourselves in Scientia, we are using the last piece of area available in the port of Peniche, which is the biggest seafood hub in Portugal. Okay, so this is a big problem. So okay, and one of the biggest challenges that we faced back in time, like 5-6 years ago, was how can I actually get funded to build my own infrastructure for a pilot project that has absolutely no economical return. Absolutely nothing. What I'm going to do is create data, train my team, train myself also to be prepared for a commercial scale project that I'm now just got funded for. But I'm talking about being funded on €500,000. It's a lot of money for the aquaculture without any type of return in the long-term perspective. It's very difficult. However, if I was able already to implement my project in already pre-based infrastructure from, call it incubators, whatever, finally, now they're actually being implemented in Portugal and I hope all over Europe. But this is absolutely mandatory because then the funding needed for these companies to implement their project, it's 10 times reduced. And they will go much faster. They will reach much faster a TRL that is able to go to achieve the market. So this is just my perspective, my point of view. I could keep talking about it, but I think I already used my time.
So. Yes, you did, João. I mean, and I think that it has been fantastic. So let's stop it here now. Thank you very much for your participation, João. I think
Sure.
that there's a lot here to unpack, especially for Klaus and Marisa. Great ideas, great suggestions of potential bottlenecks in the value chain and in the funding landscape. So a lot has been done, but a lot more needs to be done. So next, I will move now to our last speaker. In the meantime, I've been informed that there's one speaker that unfortunately could not attend. So I will move to Manuel Mina. Manuel Mina is the Chief Revenue Officer of GoParity. And GoParity, I think that he will tell you, it's a crowdlending and impact investment platform. So I think that's a very interesting alternative way of funding companies in this sector. So it will be great to hear his insights and his perspective on the topic. Manuel, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to present a bit our field work that we've been doing. So GoParity is a crowd lending platform. We have been operating since 2017 under the regulation of the Securities Commission of Portugal, and now we are regulated European-wide under the new crowd lending directive. That means any company in Europe can raise a loan, and any investor, citizen investor or institutional investor that wants to invest in peer-to-peer projects, they can do that with us. Specifically, we've focused on sustainable projects, and the blue economy has been one of our main verticals. Now, to give you a bit of example, I'm here also on behalf of the GREET project, which is an Interreg synergy project that is collaborating with the I3-4-Blue growth. And in particular, this project wants to find Portuguese companies operating in the blue bioeconomy and open opportunities for them to do business in Central Europe. So if any of such companies are here, they can contact me directly and learn more about what are the great opportunities. Now, how does this work in terms of crowd lending? Basically, I would see if the animations are running or not. If not, oh, no. So very easily, we have citizen investors. Anyone can join the platform and invest 10 euros, and they choose which project needs a loan. They invest that capital and they get the capital back. So this is not a donation. This is not equity. It's a debt that will be reimbursed with an interest rate, such as a bank. The difference is that if we have a loan for a company, that could represent up to 3,000-4,000 investors, small investors, that are basically supporting that company or that project. And we make money as a banking company, charging fees for managing all this process. But for us, what's important is all these projects create impact. Now, we have an app, and you can check it out. But what's more important is a bit of our numbers. So we have actively more than 20,000 investors, and these are not just Portuguese, they are Spanish, French, Italian, and growing around Europe. We've funded about 400 loans of 200 clients, but these reflect 45 million euros invested in the economy. And we have from 6,000 euros projects to 800,000 euros. So the scale is very flexible, and flexibility is here one of the keywords of crowd lending. But more important than this, I want to show you two things. One is that all these investors that bet in a project, they also become interested in that entity. And many times it also reaches the news. So we've had a lot of projects, especially aquaculture, to reach the media. And that's something of a secondary benefit that crowd lending brings. It's this kind of connection of the brand and all that. But more importantly are some actual examples where we entered and clearly the banking system and the traditional financing was not operating. So one of them, it's the equipment funding. Banks many times don't understand some parts of equipment that are very specific, especially what João was saying, things that are in pre-commercial stages that the banks have not seen in the past, or sometimes more specific things. We've funded solar panels in frozen fish facilities. We have funded a boat for operations, offshore operations in aquaculture, and we have funded actually parts of pre-commercial installations up to 100% of cost, and having the maturity matching the depreciation. This is important in the sense that sometimes banks can be a bit blind to this kind of thing, and usually we try that the collateral of the loan would be the equipment. Another example is working capital. So it works well for aquaculture because it can give you a bit of a buffer, and usually do bullet loans. That means that you only pay back the capital at the end of the operation. We can do revolving lines. This means that you can keep a credit line with our platform, and they usually have 6 to 12 months maturity. An example, we've done it with Natura Fish. It's sea bream, sea bass aquaculture, and this was an example focusing on the effect of seasonality in the consumption of fish, especially in the Portuguese market. And so to, let's say, overcome winter, we were providing this working capital line so that the fish could continue to grow during winter and be sold at a higher price in spring and summer. That's an actual example of the economy where we stepped in to provide a service. And as we've been discussing grants and funding, European, either directly managed by the Commission or the Portuguese government, we have done a lot of advancement on grants. So many times the deadlines for payments are not fulfilled. The companies have cash flow problems. And we've done a lot of this. So not only Portugal, so Mar 2020 or the RP programs, but also actually in the UK as well, with aquaculture companies doing advancement on grants on Univate UK. And it's an option that clearly maximizes the investment in the project. It allows for expenses to be made during the project, and then we get repaid when the grant is paid. And finally, this is actually a result of our long collaboration with some companies. This case, Oceano Fresco was the first one. It's aquaculture, clam aquaculture from Portugal, that we launched the company capitalization bonds. So for those who might understand, the bond financing option, it's reserved to, let's say, medium to large company sizes. The banking costs are very high, the fees as well. And we have tried to launch these at the scale which is more suitable for SMEs and mid-sized companies with a lot of success. So regulatorily speaking, we can run from 100,000 euros to 5 million euros. So it's a scale that banks are not interested to launch, but we have at the same time a sufficient investor base that can cover these kind of needs. And the results have been very interesting. So we have done these kind of 4-year projects that pay semestral interest, like a coupon, and then they pay the capital at the end. And so it's a way to, let's say, so alternative financing is bridging some gaps where traditional banks are not reaching the sector, especially of the blue economy, are the examples I've brought to you today, but you can see all of them in our website as well. And that was all I wanted to talk today, and the good examples that we've seen in our platform. Thank you so much.
Well, Manuel, thank you very much for your presentation. This has been fantastic. And again, I think that all the entrepreneurs in the room, they have here an excellent resource that they might want to explore further. Definitely crowd lending sounds like an interesting alternative funding scheme to bridge areas where there's lack of funding from more traditional sources. So I think that now we can move to the next phase, which is a short Q&A. I'm aware that we are running out of time. Unfortunately, the conversation has been fantastic, but we have to keep it short. So what I will do, maybe you don't have time to run through all the speakers, but I will ask at least a couple of questions from the audience, if we have any. No, I think that so far there's nothing in the chat, so I will have to come up with a question myself. Well, I think that I will start then with Klaus. Probably will follow the same order. Klaus, well, we know that the Commission is doing a lot. We know that Commission in the last years, a lot of reports have been published. Draghi report, letter report, the competitiveness compass has been launched as well. On the other hand, I think that we see also a lot of discussion around in terms of the investment and savings union strategy, where the main idea is, okay, people in Europe, they have lots of money sitting in their bank accounts and they don't know what to do with that. And I guess that much of these resources could be channeled to the venture funding business. So the question is, what do you think that will come out from all these reports, first of all? And secondly, how do you think that the regions can do to mobilize private investment to venture funding mechanisms? What shall the regional and national policymakers should be doing about it? How to get access to all these resources available in the banks and the asset managers?
Okay, Wagner, thanks. There's two really interesting questions. The first one, I think you're rather short on, is all the capital markets stuff. There's, as you said, there's obviously things happening because it's now clearly understood that we need to get the larger asset owners in. There are issues in, if you hold a large, either for your clients or, family offices, pension funds, insurers, if you invest large sums of money, you want to invest in large tickets. You don't invest in small in small projects, right? So there is an issue of establishing the right platforms and finding the right financial solutions for these large asset owners to come into the game. As I said, one thing is to raise the awareness. There is revenue in this sector because revenue is at the end what's interesting to them in terms of they have to guarantee a certain amount of revenue. It doesn't have to be huge, but they need to guarantee this, particularly if you're a pension fund or an insurer. Second, and they can only take a certain amount of risk. So you need data to assess the risk, and this data is presently not there. This is why we're going to work on it. Then obviously there's this issue. We've done a pilot last year, and we're going to continue this year. We were reaching out to large asset owners, as I said, the pension funds, the insurers, the large family offices. We got 80 of them in the room, and they were at CEO, CIO level. They are very good examples of, let's say the Norwegian pension fund. They set a target for investing in the blue economy, 0.1%. Now you think that's not a lot of money. It's a ton of money because the pension fund has a lot of money, but there are not a lot of, the pension systems vary across Europe. So I mean, we could talk hours on that, right? So this is something we're looking at. We're trying to facilitate. We have, this is one of the spin-offs of Blue Invest, where we're trying to get beyond the venture capital. There's a lot of interest in impact, right? So for instance, Joao said, it's hard to get these investments off the ground if there's no revenue. If there's impact, but impact in terms of environmental sustainability, then we have these investors listening. Now, there are certain ideas on the table to get, let's say, exits for venture capital funds are usually after, 8 years. A venture capital fund rarely holds, these projects longer in their portfolio. So we just had a brainstorming with investors, their ideas, to get secondary funds on the market that can buy these exits, to get larger platforms. If you think about seaweed, you could group, let's say, 50 seaweed projects together with, contracts with large corporates, that take the product together with technical assistance, training, other types of support into platforms. This is, again, where pension funds can buy in. We need to explore more blue bonds. That's something we're going to do with the EIB. So we were talking about, looking into, and this is going to be part also of the ocean of the Ocean Pact that the Commission is working on. We have to look at these new financing solutions and try to use them more. But this is emerging. There's a debate around it. I personally, I have to say, to my shame, it's on my reading list, the new capital markets regulation. I was so busy the last 2 weeks, because the Blue Invest Day. But I myself want to familiarize myself, because I'm not working on there's another DG working on the capital markets. But of course, this is we are a big shop, so to say. But of course, the synergies are there, and we're trying to make the connections. Your second question is personally of interest to me, because I've seen how through the structural funds we have tried to encourage regions to build their own financial instruments. Now, sometimes it works well. Usually, at the political level, often grants are the preferred instrument because it's politically super attractive. Because you can give the money to somebody and they know where it's coming from. If you give your money to a fund that will then will not necessarily invest in that project that you want them to invest because it's not suitable for their fund, it's not the same kind of directness. On the other hand, we have seen very interesting examples in Portugal, where they build up their own VC ecosystem, with public money and private money coming in. This works often. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes these funds, once they have received an anchor investment, they don't move on. they get stuck, and now we wait for a year for one of these funds, to finally come on shore, and still nothing's happening. So, there's a whole procedure about it. It's not an easy solution. It's not an easy fix, but we have to sow a lot of these flowers to make this system work. And the regions can do a lot by, through the smart specialization strategies, through these partnerships, to get the local stakeholders that decide about, how we're going to use these funds. And in the future, the next programming period, I mean, you will see obviously a lot of this responsibility of the nation state and the region for the use of the funds. We've seen an interesting model with the recovery fund. Some of the countries have done fantastic investments. Portugal in the blue economy. Portugal is one of them. France had a specific chapter on seas, etc. Spain. I could go on for hours. I stop here. I think it's a separate discussion. It's a very interesting question, but there are good models, and we're trying to work them out. And have a look at our report from the EIB. There's some things on particularly on that issue in there. Thanks.
Fantastic, Klaus. Well, great overview, and definitely reinforcing this idea that a lot is happening and a lot needs to be done, and these can be creative ways of leveraging regional funds to bring together some, let's say, some assets that at the moment are not really being channeled to the risk venture funding business.
Correct.
So maybe I would move now to João Reed, who I have a question, and I think that then unfortunately we will have to stop it here. It's going to be the last question because we are running out of time. So João, well, you are doing fantastic work at Blue Bio Alliance. You are a cluster. I've been following much of what you are doing as a cluster, and I see that you keep growing in terms of members. You are supporting great companies, etc. So we would like to finish this session with a positive note. I would like that maybe that you would give us a bit of some examples of success stories of companies that you have been supporting. First question, and the second question is, what are the main hurdles that these companies are facing, and why do some of them, they come from abroad to Portugal? What are the good conditions that Portugal is offering in that space that there are other regions they do not have, or if they have, they basically still Portugal is their choice. Give us a little bit your views on that, please.
Thank you so much, Wagner, for the questions. Well, I'll try to answer both at the same time, okay, if you don't mind. It's difficult for me to point out specific companies. I can mention groups of companies, but at the moment we have more than 220 associates, and I believe that each one of these companies is being supported. I'm absolutely sure because of the amazing team that we have operating in Blue Bio Alliance. But specifically, and let's mention also abroad, not only Portuguese companies, but abroad, other companies that are not in Portugal, but are looking towards coming to Portugal. I can mention that we are the scientific partner since the day zero of a program, a startup acceleration program called the Blue Bio Value. It's a program that's been promoted by the Fundação Azul and the Fundação Carlos Gulbenkian, nowadays only by Azul Foundation. Each one of the years, there's one edition since 2018. Well, ourselves, Scientia, we were one of the supported companies back in 2018. And now we are actually supporting other companies to evolve as well and to develop themselves as well. And what I believe that's happening right now is that in Portugal, people are understanding, and entities, a lot of stakeholders are understanding the enormous potential that the blue bioeconomy can actually have here in this place. We've been having the support of these big entities, like, for example, this foundation that I just mentioned, but also big entrepreneurial groups. Well, one of the biggest company groups in Portugal is actually putting his eyes on the blue bioeconomy development in Portugal. The Jerónimo Martins Group is one example through their foundations and societies. They've been putting a lot of attention on this sector because they've understood what can be the outcome of it in 10 years' time. The multiplicity of the return on investment is absolutely incredible. We just need to make sure that all the politicians, the decision makers, and everybody involved is completely aligned to make it happen. And there's a big effort to make Portugal the hotspot of the blue bioeconomy, globally speaking. Okay, and I believe that this can happen in a short term. Well, this is actually part of the answer, because this can be one of the good reasons why these companies abroad are actually paying attention to what's happening in Portugal. We've been able to actually make a lot of stakeholders look at us and try to make the right conditions for them to operate. Another example of Blue Bio Alliance is actually the Blue Demo Network that actually came out of this partnership in the Blue Bio Value, which is a platform where every associate can actually promote and catalog their services in the blue bioeconomy. For example, if I need a type of analysis that's not usually seen in the market, I can go there and look, okay, who's actually doing this? And through that, I can have access to services and products that are not easily I would have access in any other way. It's not like going to a supermarket. They don't exist there, it's much different. So this is also something that we are trying to set up and make sure that people talk with each other. So matchmaking not only investors with startups, but also startups with startups, big companies with big companies, trying to understand, okay, I have this problem. How can we solve this? Or okay, there's a call coming up to fund this sector. How can we actually get together and work along together to solve our problems? Not my problems, but our problems all together. Because it's very important for us to understand that the success of each one of these companies, besides mine, will be also my success. I'm not working alone in the value chain. The value chain is an integrated relationship with so many stakeholders that if any of them will fail, I will fail as well. So we need to understand this is an holistic view of all the blue bioeconomy. Well, I don't know if I answered that question.
No,
I didn't give you examples of specific companies, but okay, I believe that we are actually helping a lot of companies and trying to attract attention to what is happening in Portugal. And Blue Bio is playing a very good role on this, yes.
João, thank you very much, and keep up doing excellent work on your end. I'm sure that
thank you so much.
Case. So I think that we could not end in a better note. Thank you very much, João, and everybody. So I think that we came to pretty much the end. Let's wrap up. I would give the opportunity then to Klaus to close the session. From my side, I think I see 2 or 3 main takeaways from this discussion. Well, plenty of insights. But essentially, I see that there's insights for entrepreneurs. So my takeaway is that there are a lot of resources that are available out there. So the entrepreneurs should make use of them as much as they can. The second takeaway, it's more in terms of the policy / regulatory / funding landscape. Well, everybody recognized that a lot has been done in the last years. A lot is the blue economy sector is a great beneficiary of that progress that was done, especially at the European level. But there's still some issues that may need to be addressed. And obviously, the plea here is for all the stakeholders to get involved with the decision makers and with the policy makers, because I think that they are very open to listen to what are the bottlenecks of the value chain. And if this is voiced in a powerful way, I think that there are all good intentions of addressing those issues and make it work. And finally, I think that's pretty much a word of for the whole blue biotech community out there. I think that we should look at the blue biotech as a very strategic value chain. I mean, I think that in Europe, there's the recognition that we have lost the battle in many different value chains, solar, batteries, AI. That game in many people believe that we have lost, but I think that the blue biotech, it's actually a value chain where the race is still ongoing, and I think that it's up to us now to make that happen and to make the sector boost and foster in the years to come. So I think that's all from me. I would just say to Klaus some final words if you want, and then I think that we can close. Klaus, any final word?
Thanks, Wagner. Oh, no, just, I mean, I want to be supportive of what Dra said. It's a lot about, you know, these partnerships, industry alliances. Basically, what we set out with the smart specialization idea when we defined that, this process, of course, was not a sectoral process. It looked at the innovation opportunities and the assets in the region. But, you know, to break this down into something, you know, concrete and practical for, you know, the subsectors, and then to put in place the right infrastructure, the right ecosystem, the right connections at the regional, national, and European level. I think this is definitely the way forward. So we all have the way forward. So we all have our work cut out. I myself, I'm a fan of very hands-on initiative. There's a lot of policy learning, you know, there's a lot of Interact projects out there. There's a lot of smart specialization platforms project out there. Let's try to find the one thing, the low-hanging fruits that we can do and focusing on the opportunities to get stuff done, you know. That's what we're trying with Blue Invest. I see you're trying to do the same, you know, let's unite our forces. I think this is definitely the way forward. The funding, on the end of the day, if you have a great project, and I don't know whether João will agree, but if you have a great project, the funding will come. Of course, it takes a little bit of, you know, getting a grant here and there. And you've been very apt navigating this very complex system. So congratulations. And you know, and hopefully you're going to make it. It's not easy, of course. But I mean, if it would be easy, you know, easy is also, if it would be too easy, then you know, you would fund a lot of crap along the way as well. So this is also a bit of Darwinism at the end of the day. Sorry to be so brutal, but I think we are on the right way. We need to facilitate and simplify a lot of things. Regulation has been mentioned. You know, this will all come up in the Ocean Pact. So just follow what you know and contribute to that work. And obviously, there's a huge component for you at the regional level to get things, you know, structured in the right way. And because I mean, it's the people that make this, right? The people make the opportunity. It's not the EU. That you can help, but it's the people that make the opportunity and the connections there, you know, having the right people in the room. It's always the same.
Fantastic. Klaus, I think that we could not
totally agree.
And in a better note, I think that these are quite inspiring words, and obviously each one of us has to do its own role on this. But I think that the bottom line is collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. If there is something that is not working, reach out to someone that can address your problems, because there's a lot of people, talented people out there that is looking for solutions across the value chain. Okay, so I think that's all. Again, a big thank you to all the participants and to all the speakers, and obviously also to the coordinator of these interesting actions, I3-4-Blue Growth, Artur, and I see the other people from the National Innovation Agency. It has been a pleasure to moderate this session, and yes, I'm looking forward to keep following what's happening in I3-4-Blue Growth. Thank you very much, and I will see you around. Bye-bye.
Thank you.